Hey everybody, it's Rich and Ben with this week's fishing report. So, lots going on.
Yeah.
Lots going on. It's a really fun time of the season. We're just kind of getting started with a lot of stuff. The striped bass have been here for a while. We're going to hit on those. We're going to talk about some sea trout. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. But let's start with the rockfish. So, right here outside of our door, the Bay Bridge. Bay Bridge has been doing well.
Yeah.
People have been jigging.
Jigging, live lining, chunking, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all been working well. Good sized fish being caught too.
Yeah.
Definitely some keeper fish. Remember, it's one fish at 19 inches, so a nice mid-sized 20-inch fish is definitely in the cards for you. So, fishing there at the bridge. Think about the sewer pipe just above the bridge on the eastern shore side. That's always a great place to jig, or you could even do some bait fishing in there if you wanted. And then we've been hearing reports going all the way up to Love Point, up into Rock Hall, Tolchester. The whole eastern shore side has been doing well. Lots of, like I said, keeper-sized fish. And all the techniques we mentioned, we'll go into those in a little bit, they've all been working well.
Yeah.
Our prediction would be that the eastern shore is doing good. The western shore should be doing pretty good too. The mouth of the Magathie, the Patapsco. Start thinking about those knolls if you haven't been out there yet. 6-foot knoll, 7-foot knoll, 9-foot knoll. Those are always popular areas. Good structure, good bottom structure to fish. So I know jigging works really well for them. Just a basic jig head with a soft plastic. Dress it up with a little skirt if you wanted to. We always like our local guys. We like our Bust 'em Baits and our BKDs and our GI jig guys. So definitely want to check these out. These churples are really, really cool.
Yeah,
I
I'm
really
excited.
like. Yeah, they're a good looking color and they dress up well with a jig head like that. So I know you'd like to do a lot of live lining. We want to quickly go over a couple of things about live lining because it can be done. Not necessarily wrong, but less effective.
It's easy to mess up.
Yeah.
So with live lining, your basic setup is just coming from your main line, a snap swivel. If you're using a pre-leadered hook, just hook it right to the snap swivel. You can also tie your own. We're using circle hooks in the 7 to 8/0 range. And for spot, it's really important. Anytime you want them to swim down, the best thing to do is hook them right before the tail, but behind the dorsal, right where there's still a little bit of meat. Almost all the time they're going to swim straight to the bottom. As soon as you do that, you don't really need to use a weight as long as you're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I like hooking them if you're marking fish deep in the tail, exactly like Ben said. If you're marking fish a little bit shallow, then we're going to put that in front of the dorsal fin. So imagine the dorsal fin's there. You're going to come across, and the important thing to talk about is the orientation of the hook. We want the hook like this. We want it going through the side of the fish like that. We don't want to try to rig the fish in this manner where it would stick out. It's kind of awkward and goofy to do it. It fits perfect right through their back. I'm not a big fan of putting it in their mouth. Some people will hook them in the front. I'm not a big fan of doing this because you'll close their mouth and they're just going to die quicker. Your bait's not going to last as long. Yeah, so definitely in the back, like Ben had said. And do remember, if you're using live bait, you need to have that non-offset circle hook. Per regulation. So like Ben said, that's really important. So to tag off of yours, so that's live lining. If you're going to chunk or chum, same exact thing. So you're going to take your chunk, Manhattan or some fresh perch. If you catch some that are too big, cut them up into pieces. Piece of chunk goes on the hook, and then you're going to add your sinker slide. So you'll add the sinker slide because with the real fish, they're going to swim down or move around on you. And if you put a weight on, it can impede their action, their ability to swim and be natural. But with the chunk, it's just kind of fluttering out there. Right. And especially if you anchor up to do a chum slick, those baits will just flutter right out to the surface of the water. So you got to put a little bit of weight on. So use that sinker slide to help keep it down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's striped bass. Let's talk about some perch and some spot. We got to catch some spot to catch our striped bass, right?
Perch have been doing really good. Any hard bottom, they're still there, but they're also creeping up into the creeks, kind of getting set for summertime. Throwing sabiki rigs and even spinners and perch pounders, everything's kind of catching them up. I haven't caught too many of great size yet, but I've been catching a lot of small and medium-sized white perch. And spot too on the sabiki rigs. What I've been doing is I've been tipping them with a little bit of lugworm or sandworm, and either that or fish bites. And I mean, you don't really need more than a 1 ounce weight. All you're looking for is just to keep the line taut. You're not looking for it to hold it in place necessarily, because what you're doing is bouncing it off the bottom because you still want to give the flies a little bit of action. And that's been putting the hurt on perch and spot for me.
Nice. And for those not familiar, a lugworm or sandworm, good substitute when bloodworm's hard to get, which I think we all know by now. They've been tough to get. But that's what a lugworm looks like. Very similar to a bloodworm. They work great. And we've got plenty of those in stock, so definitely stop by and grab some.
Yeah, and when you're tipping your sabikis, the biggest thing to remember is you're really only tipping bait for scent. So you only need about an 1/8 inch piece. You're not looking to entice the fish with bait. It's really just an additive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. You make your bait last longer.
Right.
You don't need to buy a ton of bait. You're not putting a ton of it on there. And if you put too much on there, a lot of the times the fish is yanking on the bait outside of the hook,
Yeah.
and you're getting all those hits, and you're never connecting with the fish because, well, they're eating the stuff that's not on the hook.
Right.
So that's definitely important. And then no more than an ounce weight.
No, not really. I mean, you can get away with 3/4 or even a 1/2 ounce if you're in skinny water.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's fire up the motor and head south.
Yeah.
Let's go after some sea trout.
Yeah, what have they been up to?
So sea trout have definitely been good. I'm sure it's going to get better as the season wears on. We've been hearing guys going down to like Bloodworth Island, anywhere in the Tangier Sound area where we would typically find them. Look for points. Look for some drop offs. That shallow water they're going to be hanging out. And to fish for them, small jig heads. You want some lighter sizes, 1/4, 3/8.
Yeah.
You know, no more than a half unless you're in really deep water. Jig heads, and then smaller, shorter paddle tails work really well for these fish. Nice, slow, steady retrieve. Couple of twitches here and there, mimic some little bait fish moving around. Big fan of these bass, the Bass Assassin, Saltwater Assassin. Little Boss and that Northern Minnow. Love the shimmer and the shine to that thing.
Yeah.
Even in cloudy water, that thing lights up with a little bit of light hitting it. So that's a good one. And then, of course, we're all big fans of Z-Man around here. They hold up really well because, of course, they got little teeth in there. So,
Yeah.
you know, be careful with them. They won't get those baits chewed up as much. And then we've been tipping these with, or scenting our baits with Shutter Crab from Procure. So you can buy Z-Man with Procure already in it, but we really like the Shutter Crab scent. So we freshly got these in. Just spread a little in the bag itself, mix them up in the bag, kind of coat those plastics, and then get them out in the water.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, speaking along that line, keep going down south. We've been hearing some reports of some redfish. The big bull reds are still kind of down in the Virginia waters, Cape Charles area. Hopefully, they're going to start moving up soon. So get ready for that. Some bigger jig heads, some larger soft plastics, bigger skirted stuff. Those would be a lot of fun. And then, when you're using these for the smaller baits that we just talked about for sea trout, you might come across a couple of puppy drum here and there. So that'll be some added fun as well.
Yeah, and another thing you can do for those big bull reds or black drum is you can even throw a whole crab on there or quarter it up, throw that on a circle hook, throw that out there on a fish finder, and you'll be catching them like nothing.
Nice. Absolutely. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Nothing like a big, giant bull red just
No.
tear a line off your reel.
That's what we all want.
Absolutely. Very cool. Snakehead.
Well, the typical eastern shore spots have been holding true. People have been heading over to the Blackwater area, catching them as normal. And we've even had some reports of people catching them on the Severn recently.
Yeah, we actually had a lot of reports of people on the western shore catching them on the perch fishing. So you throw your typical mid to larger size perch stuff. Like we've got some spinners. We've got the South Bend spinners here. Perch sizes, and you can go up into the larger sizes. Throw these, you catch some nice sized perch, and you might catch a nice bycatch of a snakehead.
That'd be nice.
Not a bad bycatch, right?
No.
I know you like to tip some of your chatterbaits when you're fishing with them with
I
some
use
soft
these
plastics.
similar Bass Assassins, just little 3 to 4 inch little paddle tails, tip that on a chatterbait. Works well.
Cool, very cool. Well, let's briefly touch on crabbing. Crabbing's been picking up. It's been doing
Yeah.
pretty well. We've got a couple of guys here that do some crabbing. You know, you've been out doing some crabbing, caught quite a few.
What's nice is now that the grass is starting to die off in the smaller rivers, crabs have been moving up because they don't really like the feel of the grass.
Right.
So they're running in about 6 to 4 feet of water is what I've been catching them in, but there's still people in deeper water that have been pulling crabs in.
Very cool. Well, hopefully you guys get out there and you enjoy some of this fun fishing and crabbing that's going on. And we thank you guys for joining us this week. So good luck out there. Have fun.